Franklin District Council Contribution to Funding of Museums Amendment Bill, second reading.
Dr. Paul Hutchison.
I move that the Franklin District Council, in brackets Contribution to Funding of Museums Amendment Bill, be now read a second time. Mr. Speaker, might I firstly pay tribute to my colleague Colin King for an excellent speech in his last contribution. He certainly saved my skin. Mr. Speaker, I must note that the Select Committee has advised against passing this bill due to the restructure of the councils in the Auckland region. And it is not often, Mr. Speaker, that a bill such as this is enthusiastically and unanimously supported in the Parliament in its first reading, but due to a twist of circumstances is likely to be voted down today. No reflection whatsoever. The purpose of this bill, the Franklin District Council Amendment Bill, was to amend the Auckland War Memorial Museum Act 1996 and the Museum of Transport and Technology Act 2000 to ensure that the levies for the museums are calculated only on the basis of the population of the Franklin District, which is contained within the boundaries of the Auckland region and not those contained within the boundaries of the Waikato region. Undoubtedly, this was initiated to right a wrong whereby those people living in that area were inappropriately getting a double levy. Firstly, from the Auckland museums, and secondly, from Environment Waikato. In other words, a double whammy. And I must say that those people are very fine people. They come from a wonderful part of New Zealand, Glen Murray, Port Waikato, Limestone Downs, Onifero, and the Waikaretu Valley. All magnificent parts of our fine country, and it is indeed right and proper that this anomaly was righted. It's also interesting to note, Mr. Speaker, that the Franklin District Council, by land mass, is 2/3 in the Waikato area, but by population, 2/3 of the population live across the river in the Auckland area. The main provisions of the bill was that the bill amended both acts by inserting a new definition of district, and the definition of district inserted into both acts reads, district in relation to the Franklin District Council excludes any part of the district of the council that is not within the boundaries of the region of the Auckland Regional Council. In terms of background, as I said before, this was to right an anomaly. But I must emphasise both of those two museums, the Museum of Transport and the Auckland War Memorial Museums, are iconic institutions and deserve support. It was only that those living in the Waikato region were perhaps being unfairly treated. The computation of the levies is based on the populations living in the Auckland region. In terms of the Auckland governance reforms, the Select Committee considered that because they were going to happen anyway, that the bill would be put aside until it would be sorted out. And in some ways this was a bit of a shame that the bill didn't go straight through because, as I said, it was enthusiastically and unanimously embraced by this House. And I think there was certainly a lot of unknowns about how long it would take to put the Royal Commission's recommendations actually into law. And as we all know, the new Auckland Council will come into being on the 1st of November of this year. And I'd like to remind the opposition that it was really interesting when Phil Twyford and a team from the Labour Party came to Pukekohe and pointed out that they indeed supported splitting, the Labour Party indeed supported splitting Franklin at the river, as was recommended by the Royal Commission. The provisions in the Local Government Auckland Transitional Act 2010 make the intent of this bill redundant because the Act repeals the definition of contributing authorities and replaces it with a definition of Auckland Council. This means that from the 1st of November, the boards of the two museums may levy the Auckland Council only for 2011 and subsequent years. These levies will be subject to maximum values calculated on the basis of capital value and population within the territory of the new Auckland Council. Local authorities and ratepayers outside the boundaries of the Auckland region cannot be liable for these levies. It is important to point out that the Franklin District Council acknowledges that the intent of the bill is met by the Local Government Transitional Provisions Act. However, they had interpreted that the relevant provisions would come into effect on the 1st of July rather than the 1st of November. Therefore, the Franklin District Council had not raised the necessary levies from properties within the Environment Waikato part of its district from the 1st of July this year. The Council told the committee that as a result there will be a deficit of approximately 280,000, about 198 for the Auckland War Memorial Museum and 82,000 for MOTAT once the Franklin District Council's assets are transferred to the new Auckland Council. And in a convoluted sort of way, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I should say, this does seem a little bit equitable because at least this year those people in the Waikato portion were not rated. However, the rates have been taken out of a reserve fund that the Franklin District Council has, and that will mean that their contribution when you have the wash-up of the new Auckland Council will be less than it would have otherwise. As I mentioned, the Franklin District Council requested that the committee recommend the bill be enacted with a retrospective commencement date and then repealed when the provision in the Local Government Act came into effect. The committee was advised that the acts pertaining to the two museums required their boards to have fixed the amount to be levied against each of the contributing councils for the 2010-11 financial year by the 30th of April. Enacting the bill with a commencement date of the 1st of July would therefore not resolve the matter, and the committee said, furthermore, we're greatly concerned that this problem has arisen and that the ratepayers in the museums could be affected. We do not believe that it is Parliament's role to try to resolve this issue. And also recommending retrospective legislation of this kind in a local bill could set an undesirable precedent. Therefore, the committee recommend that the bill not be passed. This afternoon I did speak to Sally Davis, the CEO of the Franklin District Council, and she did express her concern that the residents of Franklin have not been treated well. And I think a message for the new mayor and the council of the Auckland City is that they should ensure that the rural parts of the new Auckland super city should be promoted and not forgotten. And I hope indeed that that message will be supported throughout this House, because the rural parts of the new Auckland City, mainly composing Franklin and Rodney, are about 75% of the land mass of the new city, but will only have 2 representatives on the new council of 21. So it's vital that that new council does support both Franklin and Rodney and the rural sector in terms of its action over the next year. So, over the years ahead. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this bill, and it's appropriate that it be discharged.